days that papers have revealed that Prime Minister David Cameron's very first celebrity crush was supermodel Cheryl Teagues, and he probably had that famous 1978 Sports Illustrated poster on his wall. Well, joining me, Andrew McLean, today are three women who also looked good in a bikini back in 1978. It's Lisa Maxwell, Carol McGiffin, and Sherry Husser. Let's take a look at who's in the Lease Lounge at lunchtime. Now, Lisa, calm yourself down. You are not daydreaming. It's the original pop idol, David Cassidy.
I've waited since 1973 for this moment.
Well, he's here and impressing us with his split personalities. It's impressionist John Culshaw. Now, it's not the first time that Lisa's been, well, really excited to see David Cassidy as he is today. Have a look at this.
There's me in the car with David. I wish.
Oh, boy. Zoe just recovered. So we know who Lisa's teen idol was. We know who David Cameron's was. But John Culshaw, who was your teen idol?
Oh, so many. Maybe Daisy Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, yes.
Or Wendy James from Transvision Vamp.
Oh, yes. And David, did you have any teen idols? Because you were one, but did you have any?
Yes. Mickey Mantle.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Nobody knows who that
Little
is.
Mickey.
Mickey Mantle was number 7 for the New York Yankees, and I grew up in New York, and sadly I never, well, I did get to speak with him on the phone right before he passed, but if you were a boy growing up in New York, you had an idol, and
Okay.
I guess I wasn't a teenager, so I'd have to say Beatles.
Oh, wow, that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's
you
a
and
good
Sherry. Sherry loves the Beatles.
Okay, well, if you've got a question for David or John, you just want to get vocal about what we are chatting about today, then give us a shout. Go to our website, email us at loose.women@itv.com, post on our Facebook page, or tweet us using the hashtag #LooseWomen. Just make sure you get in touch by 1:05 p.m. Today, Thursday the 3rd of May, and we'll read some of them out a little later on. Welcome back to Loose Women. Still to come, the original teen heartthrob, David Cassidy. Welcome back to Loose Women, where it's your last chance today to see the question that could pocket you a huge £25,000. Get this right and you could be in the money. Traditionally, which of these countries does champagne come from? Is it A, Mexico, B, France, or C, China? Call 09012 931 941. Calls cost no more than £1.03 from BT landlines. Other networks may be higher and mobiles considerably more. Text your answer, A, B, or C, to 63303. Text cost £1 plus one standard network rate message. You can also enter for free at ITV.com. Entrance must be 18 or over. Entries made after lines close at 11 a.m. on Monday the 7th of May will not be counted, but may still be charged. And the best of luck with that. Now, before Justin Bieber was even born, our final guest today had already won the hearts of girls across the globe. He was the original 70s heartthrob, and the screams of fan hysteria followed him wherever he went, as each teenage girl daydreamed that he would cherish her and nobody else. So it's time now to take you back to the sound of 1970, where it all started with the Partridge Family, and when he told the world,
I think I love you, isn't that what life is made of? Though it worries me to say, I never felt this way. Believe me, you really don't have to worry. I only want to make you happy, and if you say, hey, go away, I will. But I think better still, I'd better stay around and love you. Do you think I have a case? Let me ask you to your face. Do you think you love me? I think I love you. 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 I think I love you.
please welcome David Cassidy!
that clip.
Oh, well, it was obviously you singing the iconic song.
I heard
it. It was you were supposed to be the Partridge Family. You were at I think it was a feminist sort of rally.
Yes, we were at a feminist rally.
How did you manage to keep yourself together and pull that off? Because you're all so young on stage.
I think I recorded the song when I was 19. I had, I think it was episode 4 of
That's a good memory. Well done.
Well, I remember that only because that song happened to be the record of the year, the biggest selling record. Growing up, my idols were musical idols, were the Beatles, Stones, B.B. King, Cream, Hendrix.
Nothing like that.
Not like that. And I would sit in my dressing room and play like Voodoo Child, Slight Return, and then go out and sing I Think I Love You.
Yeah.
But what was so cool about it is I got to play, I got to learn. I got the part as an actor.
Yeah.
They didn't care. They knew I could sing, they knew I could play, but the network hired me, the studio hired me, the director, the producer, the writer, and I had to continually do various auditions for it. I had done, in the few months before that, I started as an actor and working with the LA Theater Company. I did a Broadway show, which closed. I went out to LA.
So you didn't plan on being a pop star, did you?
No, not at all. My dad was one of the most credible.
Cassidy.
Yeah, Jack Cassidy. Wonderful actor. Thank you very much.
He was.
You remember him. And my stepmom, Shirley.
Yeah.
Thank God you remember her. My father he did some movies and at the end of his career, and he did a lot of theater. He was arguably the most well-respected theatrical actor. And he really modeled for me, from the time I was 3.5 years old, the first time I saw him on Broadway, I knew that was what I wanted to do. And it's funny how your brain works. From the time I was 3.5, I remember going back in the taxi cab from watching my dad. I remember sitting there and asking both my mom and dad in the back of the cab, can I do that? And they said, yes, once you get out of high school. I knew always what I wanted to do. I started working with the LA Theater Company my last year in high school. I was the only non-professional. 2 weeks after I graduated, I moved back to New York. I got an agent, took a job in a mailroom. I started going on auditions. And within a year and a half, well, first of all, the most amazing thing is my first professional job was in the same theater that I saw my dad in when I was 3.5 on Broadway. Yeah, how about that, huh? Yeah. Remarkable. I mean, just remarkable. And I was an actor who I cared about working. I wanted to be able to support myself, which I did.
But wasn't the Partridge Family good news, though? Because
Oh, yeah.
it opened a lot of doors for you, didn't it?
Oh, it was remarkable.
It was huge, though, wasn't it? It was
show
a must-see moment.
of all time at its time for a half-hour situation.
I believed you were a family.
Totally,
Absolutely.
Well, in fact, we actually had a family feel, but the world was
I was jealous of Susan Day.
Were you?
Yeah, because I thought secretly you really fancied her.
You know, everybody did. It's so wrong, you know? So wrong.
About the Partridge Family. It's
Yeah,
all
go
about
ahead.
viewers. It's from Jennifer. She says, are you still in touch with the rest of the Partridge Family?
Well, Susan Day sadly has disappeared. No one knows where she is. She's been out of the business for now over a decade. And we did the Today Show about a year or two ago, and I got to see them all. Danny and I have stayed in touch.
Danny Bonaducci.
Yeah, he's completely out of his mind. And
Was he on the radio station?
he actually has been very successful in the last 15 years doing that, but he keeps getting arrested and then fired and then...
But yeah, David, the reason obviously that you're over here is obviously you started as an actor, you've moved on to musician, you're taking part in the Once in a Lifetime tour.
I
later
am.
on in the year.
I'm going to be headlining the Once in a Lifetime tour starting on the 11th. I actually memorized. This is a tough one for me. Starting on the 9th of November, I'm going to be in Birmingham. And on the 10th, I'm in Manchester at the big arena. And then, the Birmingham used to be the NEC.
Yeah.
Now, all these places keep getting renamed.
Yeah, like Wembley Empire Pool.
There you go. Well, I'm playing Wembley on the 11th.
Oh,
In fact, the first place I ever played, was...
Do you know, we've got footage of
No.
that was the footage that we
No.
saw there of what was supposed to be Lisa.
When I got in the car with you, don't you remember? And then we went home.
Come on, let's
Hush,
take a
my
look at
dear.
it. Here we go.
Hush, my dear. Those were the days.
Oh,
I
no.
don't like David Cassidy in the flesh.
I don't think I'll be able to say anything. I think I'll be too nervous. You just don't expect to meet him personally. And if you did, you know.
Hi there. Hi there. Wow. What are y'all up to?
Can't believe it! Is that really you?
Oh, that's so great. No. I'm wondering, can you imagine if they're like somewhere got cameras here? Yeah, but can you imagine if they're watching it going,
Yeah,
That was me.
you know, I have to do that all the time.
I'm sure you
and
do.
trust me, it's very difficult when they show you shots like that
Yeah.
40 years later.
You still look amazing.
Oh, stop.
And
No,
girls,
no,
and
no.
can I just say, girls, obviously you're grown ladies now, I can vouch, it was really him, David Cassidy. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
coming on
much.
the show today.
God love you all.
All right, that's all for today. We'll see you tomorrow at 12:30. Bye-bye.
An awful lot of shouting and screaming from ladies who look as if we're from the same generation, the 70s. Good morning and welcome to Live with Fern. As always, we're live and we have a fabulous Friday show for you. And of course, Friday means, before we get on to the 70s, Cake Club. So we're going to be trying a traditional baked cheesecake in honour of our American guests. We've got 2 of them today. And we want you to send in photos of your cakes. Now, we've already had one sent in by Rajinder, who made a Luther Vandross cake for a friend. Wowee. That looks pretty delicious, doesn't it?
Spectacular.
Spectacular.
Wow.
I think Rajinder might have to be making one of David Cassidy
Maybe.
later. And here's what else we have in store for you this morning. Kicking us off, he has been entertaining us for over 5 decades. Former teen idol and all-round legend David Cassidy is back with a pop-tastic 70s revival. And then Everybody Needs Good Neighbours, and Erinsborough's finest, Susan Kennedy and Andrew Robinson, give us the inside scoop on Ramsey Street. And one of the most exclusive neighbourhoods around is, of course, Beverly Hills 90210. And star of the hit show, Jessica Lyons, is here with all the gossip. And she's also releasing a new single, and she is gorgeous. And in the final part of the show, pet psychic Joanne Hull claims to be able to read pets' minds. So for a bit of fun, if you want to know what your pooch, monkey or fish, whatever, is really thinking, then get in touch and send us a photo. So to send in photos of your cakes, or if you've got a question for our guests or experts, contact us by emailing live@channel5.com or tweeting us at livewithon5. Or you can like us and leave comments on our Facebook page, or for show details, visit Channel 5 website. And today's Face in a Frame was sent in by Christine and Simon Howarth from London. It's of their daughter Layla. Ah, she's 5 months old and doesn't sleep. But they love her to pieces anyway. You poor things, how we do salute you. It'll get better. But if you want to get someone special you know to be our face in the frame, drop us an email with a picture and let us know if there's a specific date that you would like, because we do birthdays, anniversaries, bar mitzvahs, you name it. We'll put it in the frame. Now, my first guest today did rise to stardom in the Partridge Family, and by the age of 21, he was the highest paid solo performer in the world, with a fan club that exceeded the Beatles and Elvis combined. And still entertaining, he's back on tour with 70s superstars Leo Sayer, Hot Chocolate, and the band Smokey. Would you please welcome David Cassidy? You see, there's even 70s sequins in there. Fantastic. Oh, yes. David Cassidy, it's lovely to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Fern.
The 70s, when you look back, they really, and the further you get from them, the better they look, don't you think?
Well, the better I looked.
No.
It's so odd, yeah, I agree.
What was your favourite outfit?
I can't remember.
It must have been something pretty tight. Because trousers were very, very tight. I see that you're still sporting quite tight trousers.
Well,
but they also had bell bottoms, and did you do the full?
Regalia?
Yeah.
I actually, you know, because I was a child of, as a teenager in the 60s, and very much the whole social and political ideology. I lived in Los Angeles, which at the time, other than San Francisco, as a teenager going to school like everybody else, I wasn't a star. I wasn't somebody who was actually trying to set a trend. I just was on that edge and knew the places to go, where my friends and I used to go and buy the newest, coolest sort of jeans, but it was the anti-brand. You wouldn't walk around like people now with Abercrombie and Fitch, or they walk around. It's a brand thing. In those days, it was the antithesis of that. You didn't want to be part of the quote-unquote capitalistic establishment. So I was very anti-establishment. I was very much a child who, and I say a child because in very, very many ways I still am, and I live in that. But when I see, it's very difficult for me personally, because when you're 40 years on and people are constantly comparing you and you're seeing photographs of yourself, I ask any of you, think of yourself, if you're old enough, to think about what was it like 40 years ago? What did you look like? How did you interact with people? For me, I lived wrapped up in a blanket in the back of a boot of a Toyota, and I used to get, I lived in a very isolated world once I did the Partridge Family, and
Hang on, they would wrap you up and put them in the boot of a car to get you anywhere because of the crowds and the girls?
Yeah, I had a kidnapping threat. I had to leave my home. The FBI and the LAPD were involved, and I had to leave and have a Pinkerton guy living with me. And
a detective?
Yes, no, their security, Pinkerton is like Brinks, and they stayed with me, and they were in constant communication with the LAPD because there was a legitimate tip that it was going to happen. And, you know, when you're in the eye of that, my job was from 6 a.m. in the morning when I would get up. I'd be at the set at 7:30. I'd work until 7:10, and then I'd go over the hill, fly from Burbank over in my car, to the studio where I would record until 11 or sometimes 12. And I was recording for 2 artists. I was starring in the television show. I would do every weekend 4 concerts, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and then fly back to LA. Now, I did that consistently for 5 years.
This doesn't sound very much fun. No wonder when
there wasn't a lot of fun in it. It was a lot of work. I loved the work. It was getting to, and it's funny because when I had an opportunity to talk to a couple of people who had lived a similar experience. One, when I met Elvis, his daughter, who was 4 or 5 at the time, was a huge fan of mine. And Priscilla, and it's a funny story, it would take too long to tell you, but I did meet him, and it was kind of a glimpse into the future. And then, conversely, I met John Lennon a few years right after my last world tour, where I played, you know, Main Road and White City and a lot of the great big stadiums all over the world. And it was an amazing experience to be me, but I had not emotionally matured from the time I was 19 when I was cast, and I started recording at 19.
So by 24, no wonder you said, do you know what, I'm burnt out and I'm stopping.
Yeah.
And how long did you take out, and did you manage to start being who you are?
I'm still not sure I am who I am. It took me a very long time to get by it professionally. Was extraordinarily difficult because I had become, once you become that famous, I was the first globally marketed
were.
human being.
You
where
were
there
on
were
my pencil case.
Yeah, and what the problem with that is I never got to see the pencil cases. I didn't have approval on anything. And my disappointment was when, not the bootlegging and all of that would go on, was if you joined my fan club, which, as you said, was so huge, their interest was certainly not for me. Their interest was only solely making money. And what I objected to was giving my fans, I don't care if it's $5 or £5 or $100 or £100, give my fans something great. Because ultimately, they relate to me. The reason they're buying it is because of their connection with me. Give them something great. Otherwise, it reflects really badly on me. You send them, junk, and you send them things that are obviously inferior and to me unacceptable. I mean, really, David Cassidy dresses? I'm sorry, have you ever seen the thought of me
Designed a
designing?
David Cassidy dress?
They made David Cassidy dresses, pillowcase, underwear. There's a picture of me on some tiny little female underwear.
Knickers.
I mean, yeah. And I felt very
Can we
badly.
still get them? Are they?
Fern, I'm wearing a pair of...
But you see, so I'm sorry that I asked you this, because the 70s clearly was not a good time, and yet your own children, you're happily supporting them and guiding them in their careers.
Well, certainly my son Bo, who is now really beginning to crack it, and he had a fantastic passion and is very compassionate. I think I'm more proud of him as a human being, who he is. I actually said to him, and I meant it, I think you're the best person I've ever met. And to say that about your child, about your son, he is the most loving, compassionate, caring person I know. And
you're not a bad son to your mum, who unfortunately is very ill with Alzheimer's.
Very ill. And part of the reason I'm not touring as much, I'm not going to play. This is the only tour. I start on November 9th in I think in Birmingham, and I end up in Liverpool, which, as most of you know, I did Blood Brothers on Broadway, and because of the Beatles, a lot of musicians and actors have a real connection if you're an old lover like me, and I was so influenced by them. The connection I had with John Lennon, the connection I have with people who are of that generation, who are now baby boomers, are the largest percentage of our population in America. It's 88 million people, and as the baby boomer generation ages, and we continue to grow older and older and older, I am very, very, very concerned, and one of the reasons why I'm going to be very proactive, and I've been working on speaking to Congress, working with the Alzheimer's Foundation of America. I'm going to try and be the face to try and educate, try and raise as much money, because the baby boomers, the eldest, started retirement age at 65 last year in 2011. What is about to happen in America, and I just read a piece here in the paper 2 days ago, that it's becoming a real concern, but it's still one of those because it's so painful, and it's such like a dirty little secret. Do you know the number one fear of individuals at 50 years old is not dying, and it's not cancer, it's losing your mind.
Yes.
And I'm going to work. My mom has been in 24-hour care. She cannot walk, she no longer speaks, she lives in a diaper, and I have been taking care of her for more than the 7 years, but I have also had to take care of her most of her life. And my mother always, I always suspected she might be someone that they used to refer to as senility. Well, I think before I leave this earth, I've been blessed to touch millions of people's lives and bring light into their lives, and I'm really proud of that.
You have, David.
But I'm going to do something else.
Yeah,
I'm going to do something noble, I hope.
Yeah.
And I want very much for you, if you have a heart, you will know someone in your family or friends who will have this horrible disease that there is no cure for, please, you can either go to davidcassidy.com and find out about it. I'm going to do speaking engagements. I'm going to devote a lot of my free time, thus do a lot less touring. But the Alzheimer's Foundation of America and I are going to work together, and I thank you for letting me carry on.
Yeah, I have to stop you there.
I assumed you did.
That's brilliant. And the most important thing as well for people to see you and connect with you is the big tour here, which is in November.
November 9th, I start in Birmingham, then I'm in Manchester the 10th, and then I'm back at this first scene of the crime at the Wembley Arena, which is where I did my first concert, and I'll bet a few of you were there, were you not? Were you? Fantastic.
And on the tour as well are Leo Sayer and Hot
Indeed.
Chocolate and
Can't
Van
wait
Smokey.
to work
It's going
with
to be
them.
fun. David, thank you.
Thank
Always
you.
wonderful to see you.
Thank you for
We'll see you after this.